Hi everybody, I'm David and this is All Things Sacred. It's been a little bit, but I'm going to pick up right where I left off at the Nine of Wands, the Strength card. The wands, just a small refresher, the wands are about willpower, our connection to willpower, the various ways in which we decide to act upon our will, which is given to us from the divine will, the various struggles that go along with it. And then feeding the ego is kind of what I was talking about. I was talking about and one last thing, and creating the system of our actions that we see as ourselves. That's how we feed the ego. We create a system of actions of the various parts of the wand suits that, we decide to do something, we do it, we learn from it, we get back what we learn from it, and we respond accordingly. We end up seeing this whole system of our interaction with nature as being an embodiment of ourselves, and we use this to feed the ego. The Strength card itself doesn't necessarily say that the actions are being used to feed the ego. This is a point of difficulty because of the tension that's found in the Strength card, the sun and the moon holding strong against one another, opposite one another. But and in many ways, it's a badge of merit because this is how we have to express our lives forever. When we finally recognize the divine will as acting through our will and being able to give up our will to the divine, then we will have to constantly endure with this Strength card, looking upwards to the victory and to the ace. But we have to hold strong with this meritorious actions that we could use to create our lives. The problem is that on the way down from the ace to the 10 into the process of manifestation, into the process of our creation, we don't realize that this willpower actually is coming from the divine. By this point on the 9 coming downward, we've forgotten that the divine has bestowed upon us the ability to will anything, and knowing that, we can see that the divine is our own power, and we should listen to the will of the divine rather than using this strength to feed our ego machine. That's the machine that we get built up, not a spiritual machine to where our actions are used to better shine the light, the fire of the divine on all beings. Instead, this becomes a very terrestrial, material fire that burns us at the touch, whereas the spiritual fire is one that won't burn us. And because of that, we get to the 10th. Because of feeding the ego, because of using this system to create a stronger attachment to our egoic self. The 10 rises as this oppressive ego who is held captive, who is oppressed, as I said, and the name of the card, by their own actions, by the system that they've set up for themselves. For example, I work a job, I work in a pizza parlor, and I do these videos, and, I do them both joyfully. I could see it as, I need to work, I need to go to work, and of course I know that I need to work for money and stuff so that I could have somewhere to live, but I'm not so attached to the work that I do at the pizza parlor or even these readings. I'm not here being like, I need to do this many a day, and if I don't meet my own personal quota, I'm not allowing that to oppress me. I've let go of this oppression because there's no need to see it as my actions. I don't reap the rewards from it, and nor is it my will to do these things. I've learned to drop my ego, continue living in this divisive world, this world of division, but I'm not attached to any of the outcomes of it. I'm not attached to the doing of it either. And so this oppression is constantly thrown off. Anytime I feel that something is putting too much strain upon my life, I recognize that I have the freedom to be like, no, if I really didn't want to do these readings, if for some reason, or these classes, if for some reason it would have come and shown that it's hurting me, then I would be able to drop them just right now. But that's not the case. I actually thoroughly enjoy doing these, and I look forward to doing many more videos on more than just the tarot. But this oppression is when someone feels that what they need to do is best for them isn't best for them. This is someone who, when this card shows up in a reading, to really give you an example of what it's like. Someone will see this card in a reading and they'll be like, oh, that's a horrible, ugly thing. Oppression. It's bad. That card is harsh looking. It looks heavy. I don't want that. But then you'll talk to them about what this card means, and it's often their career choice or their schooling or something that they're really putting their passion into, because that's a word that's strongly connected to this card. If someone feels very passionate about the oppression that they're putting on themselves, though they don't view it that way. And so when it shows up in a reading, it's hard for them to see that this is a negative thing. This often feels like who they are. Oh, you're asking me to get rid of myself. You're asking me to let go of all my goals and aspirations, everything that I fought all these years for. Look at these 10 wands, I built up. You know how hard it is to build up and hold on to 10 wands? It's a struggle, is how kind of people believe. And because of that, they don't want to let go of these things that are bad for them. That, this is a very worldly card, even though this is, in the wand suit, so it's, the more spiritual of the suits. It being in the 10 really says that drive up for who we are, to make ourselves, even in a spiritual sense. This could be someone who's, I need to meditate 6 hours a day. If I don't meditate 6 hours a day, then I won't have my enlightened realization and I won't be calm and peaceful. That is a strain on someone too. We need to learn to, be fulfilled across all the suits. Someone who's built up 10 wands, this is fabulous. This is a lot of work and effort, a lot of self-sacrifice, but without the, emotion of the cups or the practicality of the discs or the discernment of the swords. Someone, even with all this willpower, they're going to come crashing down. This is going to weigh heavy on them. This is going to exhaust them, and the system is going to break. Either they're going to choose to let it go and create a new system, or they're going to realize through, constant oppression, eventually being battered down. People have different calibers of stubbornness, but eventually the system will crash. And it's best for someone to let go of the need to be attached to the system. Again, you cycle back around. This time, we could look back up at the 9 and be like, this is the system that can run, but it's not my system necessarily, it's the divine system. Or we could cycle this back around to the ace, which is what often happens for people in the world. The system will crash, their life situation will change. When this card shows up, it's not saying that that's coming, or that that's there necessarily. It's saying that they're in the midst of their oppressiveness, but eventually the nature of the 10 is to, let go back to take that zero's not even there, it's just a 1, and go back to the ace. And then they'd find their new will, their new drive to become this new person once again. So yeah, that's our connection to our willpower, to the divine willpower as represented by the wand suits. Talking so much about will and drive, passion, direction, motion, we imagine, and are probably right, that the court cards of the wand suit will have a lot of those characteristics. Possibly my favorite of the court cards for the wand suit. I do really like the prince too. His negative sides can, be a little bit harsher. The knight of wands, the fire of fire, his negative sides are part of his positivity. The Knight of Wands is the fire that burns and then goes out, and burns and then goes out, and burns and then goes out. His nature is fire, but it's so expressive and it comes on so quickly that it burns itself out very fast. That's its negative aspect, but like I said, its negative aspect is part of its true positive qualities, because the fact that he burns out so much, he learns early on how to reignite himself over and over. Anytime he burns out, he doesn't think to himself that this is the end. He's like, oh, well, here I go again. I gotta do it again. He knows how to easily remake himself over and over, his personality, and renew himself and revivify himself so that he could keep going with what he feels will be his victory. And so he's a pretty balanced character, pretty much, to say that. He has positive and negative, but they both feed into each other. Light switch on, light switch off, light switch on, light switch off. You're never going to not need to turn on that light. So the light switch will always go on, but then you're also going to need to turn it off. So it's going to go off too. The nature of fire is that it's difficult to control. The Knight of Wands has learned a way to control it by allowing it to go out and recognizing whenever it goes out, he just turns it back on. The Queen of Wands, on the other hand, is the character who has a little bit more difficulty in grasping the control of fire. You know, the Emperor, which we'll talk about when we get to the Major Arcana, has really learned how to sit within the fire, realize that it flows like a river, it has its own life, and you can't control it in the common sense of controlling anything. That fire will always do what it wants to do. The Queen of Wands hasn't quite learned this yet. She has difficulty understanding this. She grasps hard onto that animal nature, which is the only way that she has to overcome this. By overcoming her animal nature, she allows her passions to be naturally directed. As she's dealing with her own introspection, her own healing, she is the water of fire, Queen of Wands. She is able to soften those flames so that she could be happy. But more often than not, I've seen this card expressed as someone in your life, or you, if this card is identifying you as this personality, as being someone with control issues, who has a difficult time doing this controlling of the animal nature. You know, the Pinecone truly speaks to the fact, like Dionysus, that when she learns to work on herself, instead of trying to, if she learns to try to control her interior, instead of trying to control her exterior, then she has an easy pathway to bliss, to happiness, to peace. But it's a difficult thing to do when fire is the thing that you're trying to control. It's your passions. And, you know, they have extra force here in the fire suit. But, you know, it's both a positive and negative card, like any other core card, like any card truly. And so she doesn't always necessarily have to do with control issues. Being a water card, the fact that she's a queen, means that she's very mutable to what's going on around her. So I'll talk this when I get into how to do readings, but the cards are influenced by what's going on around them in a reading. It's not ever just straightforward, unless it's a single card reading, and then you could just do that basic description of a character who has control issues. If it's a single card for that one, I would say that would be what would come out. Let me try to fix this. I only have 2 cards to go, so I would like to finish this if I could in this one video. I am getting a little choppy, so let me just do this one thing that seems to help on my computer really quickly. Thank you. Alright, seems to be working. It's at 53%, just cleaning out some whatever. So I don't really know computers too well, but it's getting there. Okay. So the next court card is the Prince of Wands. Look how nice and red all these cards are. Such beautiful shades of red. Crowley was particular to this card as it was his birthday card. That's right to mention. This is Sagittarius and Capricorn. Yeah. This is... Oh wait, no. This is Scorpio and Sagittarius. This is Pisces and Aries. And then this one is Cancer and Leo. So at the beginning of Leo, the first 20 degrees of Leo. Very Leonine, as you can tell, lion on the card. Very strong figure, king-like, just like the lion, you know, very blazing chariot, just epitome of the Leonine nature. The Leo speaks very strongly to the personality of this card as well. It doesn't always come across as strongly since the core cards are mixed natures, but Leo has a very strong presence, and this is a leader. This is a character who doesn't lead people like in the same way the Hierophant does, but more like the Emperor. This is the leader who rallies people together to fight for a certain cause, to do a certain thing. His characteristics are very strong-natured, is the terms that are always used to describe his character. His only negative aspects are that sometimes he could be so strong that he could trample over people, a lot like the Prince of Discs as well. But his could be even a little more harsh. You know, he understands social graces a little bit better than the Prince of Discs does, and because of that, he could just run all over people with his words, with his actions, and he could make a mockery of people. That, you know, his negative aspects are not to be forgotten. Even though he appears as a very strong and beneficent character, he's not always beneficent. He will be strong, most certainly, but he won't always be kind. He won't always be good. It all depends, again, on what's surrounding it. What's the situation, the placement of this card in the reading in someone's life. And finally, the wonderful Princess of Wands, nude here, dancing upon a lion, being burned up in her own flames, becoming the sacrificial fire herself, like Agni of the Hindu pantheon, who is the god of fire. She too is our own self, or a person, a character in our life, who is able to go through the difficulties of their life with glee, with ease, with playfulness, with joy, with beauty, wonder, and awe, who is able to burn off their own karma, make their life a sacrificial rite for the divine. This is the releasing of one's will to the divine will by recognizing that our will is from the divine, and that all things are from the divine, and that our life should be given as a beautiful performance, part of the Leela, the play of the divine in our life. And I think that might be all I really have to say. You know, her character, when she comes up in a reading, hers is a character, you know, that's the really esoteric understanding of it. More material sense is that she's a character who will actually probably bring a lot of chaos into your life. She'll be very fun. She'll a person who likes to party and enjoy herself, who likes to get lost in bliss, whether that be the meditative bliss or the party bliss. Whatever it is, you know, this character is able to just keep going. Their fire almost never goes out. Well, I've been frozen for just a minute here. I might have rushed through those last cards only the slightest bit. They're only court cards, so they're a lot easier to describe. If anyone has questions concerning any of the cards at all, please let me know in the comments. I want to thank you all again. I will be doing videos on the Earth suit next. So yeah, that'll be here soon. Thanks everyone. Love you. Bye.